Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today on how to leverage the new tools from Glassdoor. My name is Nina. I'm one of the marketing coordinators over here at Glassdoor, and I will be your moderator for the day. Okay, so a couple of webinar tips for attendees before we get started. So you can connect to audio using your computer's microphones and speakers, or you may use select telephone after joining the webinar. All lines will be muted to avoid background noise, but you can ask questions at any time by typing them into the question pane you see on the right-hand side. To be mindful of everybody's time, we will save all Q&A to the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask your questions whenever you may have them. I'd like to invite you all to engage socially with us throughout the presentation as well using the hashtag GDChat. And now I'd like to introduce our amazing speakers for the day. So we have Poletti, who is the Senior Director of Employment Brand Marketing at DocuSign, who will be joining our Glassdoor team here. And we have Kirsten Davidson, who's our Head of Employer Brand, Mike Walsh, the Senior Product Marketing Manager, and Federer, who is the Product Marketing Manager here. And Kira, I will turn it over to you to take it away for us.
Great. Good morning, everyone on the line, and thank you again for joining today. Today's agenda, we'll actually walk through candidates' decisions today, really take a look at how they've changed and why we're all here. We'll introduce some new products and features that we've just recently rolled out, and whether you're currently working with Glassdoor or considering working with Glassdoor, ideally this will help you really understand what you may be able to use within your recruiting and branding strategy. We'll then do a live demo on our website and walk through our new and probably most highly talked about product we've just rolled out, which is Know Your Worth. And then we'll head to a Q&A session. So what we understand is that really today's candidates spend more time researching during their job search than ever before. We know that the days of blindly applying for a job search are long gone, because we realize that today's candidates treat their job search much like much more of a critical decision, and they've got the resources at their fingertips to do the types of research that now this job search demands. So what we're seeing is that this experience has totally changed. When we look at decisions today, we realize that they haven't just changed here. We take a look at even the way we search online. We now all go online to research before we buy. For example, we found that 81% of shoppers conduct research online before buying, and 7 in 10 seek reviews before purchasing. So it doesn't surprise us that this isn't really any different for job seekers. I will admit that I actually just spent probably 20 minutes researching a recycling bin for my kitchen on Amazon. And that's 20 minutes for a recycling bin. And so it doesn't surprise us that we're seeing job seekers do more extensive research than we've ever seen. In fact, we're seeing that they really use an average of 18 sources before applying to a job. And they're reading 7 or 8 reviews before actually submitting that application. And we realize that because this decision doesn't just impact their job. If we take a step back, and I know those of you on the line know this probably more intimately than anyone, it impacts their life. It's where they spend the majority of their waking hours. And even when we go home, we're still discussing what this looks like. I know that most of our significant others probably could name the name of our manager today, can name the name of where we work, what our day is like, and that's because what we do each day really permeates throughout the rest of our world. So we're not surprised to see that job seekers are really doing more research now than they've ever done before because they can. And because of this wealth of information they have available, we know that expectations are higher. They've changed. We know that they want much more information than just the job description they could want to get. I think when we take a look at this, we know that the top things that make a job seeker want to work for your organization, number one, they want to understand what makes it an attractive place to work. Why will my day-to-day be better with your organization than the organization I'm currently with, or maybe with your competitor? They want to know, of course, the compensation. We know that to be true, and I think it'll be really helpful when we get to the Know Your Worth section of this presentation, and we can talk about it from an employer's lens. We want to understand benefits. Certainly any of those with a family. How will the rest of my family be supported in the benefits package I'll receive? Mission and values available, and basic company information. And of course, they want to hear a perspective that's similar to their own. So kind of just feedback on what it would be like to sit in this seat. And I know we trust that feedback when it comes from someone who thinks like us, who talks like us, probably who does a job similar to ours. And we know that the best part about all of this is as it's become more transparent, it's become much more honest. Yes, expectations are higher, but I would certainly say that candidates are not demanding perfection, but they are asking for a level of transparency. In fact, we're seeing that 90% of candidates say they want to work for a company that embraces transparency. So now we're all on the same page there. We'll use the rest of our time together to really walk through the new products that Glassdoor has introduced. I will tell you, I've been with the organization for 2.5 years, and this is a very exciting time. I think we're seeing more in product innovation in the last 6 months, and I'm really proud of where we're going and where we're moving to quickly. So we know that for many of you on the line, you are either in the throes of a heavy hiring season because you may have seasonal hiring, or you're probably gearing up for January when we know that everyone comes out of their holiday slumber and really dives into that job search. So we'll walk through the product and features that we now have available to help everyone on the phone really dive into how you can extend your employer brand and your recruiting efforts on Glassdoor. So first, we'll walk through new ways we have available to target job seekers. The first product we'll talk about, a new product we've rolled out called what we're calling Job Spotlight. I will tell you, we hear a few requests more than that to get, I want more eyes on my jobs. And that's exactly what Job Spotlight is doing. As you hopefully know, Glassdoor does offer job advertising. What Job Spotlight is really a display advertisement, but it takes your jobs and gets them additional promotion or additional visibility. And my favorite part about this is that it gets it to the exact talent you're searching for. So Job Spotlight is a display ad, and it allows you to precisely target the exact person you want to see this ad. For example, maybe you're on the line and you have an initiative to hire more females and maybe female millennials. We have that type of targeting available. Maybe it's to hire more software engineers and you want to do that in Boston. We've got targeting by age, gender, occupation, location, really any amalgamation of these things. Employers are able to come to Glassdoor, identify who exactly they want to target most, and this then gets increased visibility into that exact audience. Then what we know is maybe the engineer in Boston that you chose to target will see your job, and they'll see the jobs that are most relevant to them, likely engineering jobs, throughout Glassdoor and on competitor profiles. So that is Job Spotlight. And next up, we have Company Spotlight. This is another new product that employers are able to purchase. It's also a display advertising product. What I want to pause with and share here is that Company Spotlight is something we call native advertising. So I'll pause, and if anyone's on the line that's used Instagram in the last few months, you know that typically on Instagram, you can scroll through and you'll see a friend's photo, a friend's photo, a friend's photo, and then you'll see a sponsored ad. So think to yourself, are you digesting that ad? Are you seeing that ad? Likely you do, because it looks, feels much like the content you came to Instagram to digest, right? The layout is similar to that of the friend's photo you just looked at. That is what we call native advertising, when it really emulates the rest of the environment. Company Spotlight is exactly that. It is a version of native advertising that Glassdoor has rolled out. What we do now is we're able to take a company's message, a company's photo, and embed it in the content that users are coming to digest. For example, I may see a salary review, another salary review, another salary review, and then a company spotlight ad for, in this example, we've shown Glassdoor or your organization. This is an ad really embedded in the content that users are coming to digest. Just like Job Spotlight, we have that same precision targeting. So I could still say, I want engineers in Boston to see this message, and they're going to see it within the salary reviews they may be reviewing for software engineers. So the things I love about this product is that it is so highly visible. It's certainly where display advertising is going for any of those who are dealing with the display advertising budget today. And we know that this is seen across all, both desktop, tablet, mobile web, and mobile app. And the reason that that's compelling is we know that over 50% of Glassdoor traffic comes via mobile. So this is a fantastic way to get that brand embedded in content in front of candidates as they're searching on their cell. So we've talked about new ways to target job seekers with both Job Spotlight and Company Spotlight. Now we'll talk about a new way to access analytics. This is what we call our industry benchmarking report. So these are quarterly insights. And for those of you on the line that are working with Glassdoor today, this is outside of the Employer Center that you're familiar with. Employer Center is where we keep all of our analytics. Industry benchmarking is in addition to that data. We're able to provide quarterly insights to employers that we work with. And these are around our really a benchmarking of your organization versus your industry, really understanding how do you compare to the rest of your industry. We'll also serve up other industries because we know that candidates don't just do their job search by industry, right? They may be looking at organizations that consider themselves retail and an organization that considers itself tech, all in the same job search. So this does help you understand how you compare to your industry and others. And you can compare yourself by how do your company ratings stack up? How do your benefits compare? What does your candidate experience look like versus your industry? This same report also gives deeper insights into your own organization's brand awareness. One particular report in this that I love is understanding really the your gender traffic and then ratings for your company by gender. For example, understanding the male satisfaction rate at your organization versus that of the female. So the industry benchmarking report really does help employers go an extra click down in understanding both their traffic and then how they compare their industry. So we've talked about how to target your job seekers, how to access additional analytics. And the final piece that I will mention before we hand this off is new ways to personalize your brand. So our latest feature we've rolled out is called audience targeting. This is available in certain packages. What audience targeting does is it recognizes, first and foremost, that an employer brand is not a one-size-fits-all. We know that different job seekers are attracted to your organizations for different reasons. As an engineer, I may want to work for your organization for a completely different reason than a salesperson or than someone on your legal team. And audience targeting helps you speak to each of those audiences with the content that matters most to them. What this is it provides a personalized view of your EP enhanced profile for those of you that are currently partnering with Glassdoor for up to 4 audiences based on their occupation. That means if I am an engineer, I may come to your site and see something completely different than someone in finance, than someone in sales, and someone in marketing. And I'm able, as an employer, to highlight the photos, the videos, and content that I know that particular audience is going to care about most. You can also feature a review from that particular department. If I've created an engineering target, then the engineers that come there will see they have the opportunity to see a different cover photo, a different featured video, different why work for us information, and a different featured review. Ideally, I'll see a review from someone that's also in engineering. So this has been, I will say, an exciting tool that we've seen rolled out on the employer side of the house. And we've been working closely with a handful of partners to help give us some early feedback. And we have Ann Poletti, Senior Director of Employer Brand Marketing, on the line. And I would love for Ann to really walk us through the lens of an employer, what the experience was like with audience targeting for DocuSign.
Great. Can you hear me, everybody?
We can. Fantastic. Hi, Anne.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me to join you today. I'm really excited about this tool and to share our experience about how we're using it. And if we could go to the next slide, it'd be great. One of the things when I saw this tool is, of course, I wanted to boil the ocean. I wanted every job opening. I wanted to talk about every department. And I'd say, first, decide which groups and departments you want to focus on. Talk to your recruiting colleagues, see where your hiring needs are going to be over the next 6 months and year, and focus there. For DocuSign, we decided to focus on sales and engineering. And, you know, the Glassdoor tool is so easy and quick. It's like updating your Facebook page. But still, you need to have the resources going forward to keep the information fresh. So keep it in mind when you're finalizing who you want to target. So that's what I'd say there. And if we could click to the next slide, thank you so much. For DocuSign, the answer, as I mentioned, was sales and engineering. And those are two areas where we have the greatest hiring needs. So we wanted to speak to those audiences directly on Glassdoor. So the next thing we needed to pick was our hero photo for engineering and one for sales. Come up with a video, select a feature review, and then really build out our messaging around the key value proposition for both engineering and sales. And again, I'd say just dive in. You know, it's so easy to update. Don't strive for perfection day one. Get your voice out there and shape the conversation that's already being had about what it's like to work in sales or engineering or at your company in general. If we could just click to the next slide, please. So let me take you through just the foundational work that we did for DocuSign's employer brand and then how we built off of that to get into the targeting. So make sure your employer brand foundational work is in place. We interviewed, for instance, 40 employees across the company to find out why they joined DocuSign, why they stay. And we boiled that down into our employment brand pillars, which are collaborate, create, and impact, and built messaging around that. Once we did that, we actually debuted this employer brand value proposition on Glassdoor in the Why Work For Us section. And we then encouraged employees to write reviews on Glassdoor. We didn't tell them how to write a review or just details. I wanted them to give us people color. And what's powerful about that, of course, is that the candidates who are coming to Glassdoor can see the threads of commonality between what employee reviews are saying and what we as a company are saying it's like to work at DocuSign. And that's because when we built our employment brand, we built it authentically by not starting in the corner office, but rather talking to the employees. And you can see that integrity, hopefully, through our employer brand. And I'd encourage you to do the same thing. Then, if we could flip to the next slide, this is, again, our foundational larger employment brand story and work. We leveraged all those interviews and we created custom content specifically for Glassdoor that we again debuted on Glassdoor, and we call them the We Are DocuSign Employee Spotlight interviews. And then we amplified those across other social media channels. And this is really leveraging our employees to be our greatest ambassadors, not only in the reviews, but in the custom content in our company updates. And here a candidate could come and they could read a sales spotlight or an engineering spotlight, and they learn what that person specifically does, and they get a sense of the vibe of the place. Let's switch to the next slide, please. So shall we jump in and take a peek at what we've done?
Let's hop in.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go ahead and hop in and take a look at, Anne, really the work that I know you've put in and has quickly become a best practice for us in our organization. So if we head over live to site, we'll land on our homepage, and I will tell you, as luck would have it, we landed here and saw DocuSign's homepage highlights. So this is a different product that DocuSign is working with us on. So I love this. First thing I see when I get to the Glassdoor homepage, boom, I see DocuSign's work environment, what it's like to work inside our organization, and a feature review. So if I click here, now I can see, so this is DocuSign's enhanced profile, and I know, and this is probably the enhanced profile you guys have had for quite some time with us.
That's right.
And so here is, when we take a look at the new feature, you can access this, and again, this is available in certain packages. If you're working with Glassdoor today, reach out to your account team to understand how you can access this feature. You may or may not see this link on your profile today. Again, reach out. This is available in certain packages, and your account team can help you identify if it's part of your package or how to access it. So we'll take a look. I know Anne chose to first identify who those audiences were that she wanted to target. We do that, come down here, and we can actually see the full list. This is a list of about over 20 occupations. And I know you guys currently are focusing on engineering and sales. So let's go ahead and hop to what your engineering page looks like. So for those of you online, as you take a look at what this page looks like. Now here's a view that only Anne can see because she manages this page. A user couldn't see this. But for example, if Glassdoor recognized that I was an engineer, I'm clicking on engineering jobs, I'm searching for them, then I actually would see this page instead. So Anne, you want to walk us through a bit about the content you built out here?
Sure. So the hero photo, you can see I chose a fun picture of our engineering team working in a hackathon. They're laughing, they're having fun. I also picked one that showed greater diversity. So that was kind of fun. I looked through because that's another effort that we're trying to promote at DocuSign. I do have a video. If you push that, you'll see it's a fun video of docu-stories, and each employee that we interview is talking about a fun customer story that somebody told them, and it's a very fun video. And then the other thing, so you can see that on your own, and going forward we might develop even more tailored videos. We're going to have some fun with that now that I know that there's this tool on Glassdoor. I'm going to create some custom content. The other thing is we chose a featured review. I don't know if you want to go to that or if you want to go to Eng at DocuSign. You choose.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead? We'll take a look at your Eng at DocuSign and then head over to your featured review.
Sure. So we love this. So we have in the About Us and how it works, we have a lot of similar information to what you see at the company brand view. Here, we told a story about why engineering at DocuSign. And we stress things like the challenge, because engineers like challenge, that customers love us, that they'll be exposed to leaders who will actually know their work and tap them for expertise regardless of their level. We have really fun hackathons twice a year, internal hackathons, and those products from the hackathons and features actually ship. And then there's mobility opportunities. So those are the messages that we're stressing as something that engineers see as valuable. So that's the view. And then in the review section, we highlight a review from an engineer. And as the number, yeah, if you scroll down. And so that's great. I mean, they'll look through all the reviews, but we hire one from our senior software engineer in San Francisco in this engineering view. And we're really, really excited about this ability. I was thinking, how am I going to do this next? And I swear, within 3 weeks, Glassdoor was calling us, asking us to beta this. I couldn't believe it. I thought, like, I don't know, my good mother fairy or whatever, sprinkled dust over my budget or something. Anyway, I'm very excited. Shall we take a peek at the sales view, or do you want?
Let's take a look at sales as well.
Okay.
At least to understand, yeah, this is definitely also now I see a different experience for sales. So
yeah, and for sales, you'll see that I chose a different picture. This picture is actually of our team in Seattle, where we have a large commercial sales team. So I chose a Seattle photo where the other one was in San Francisco. The video is the same DocuStories video, but again, I'll be working on video in the future. And that's another thing. Just don't jump right in, right? There's time to update. It's so easy to update in this tool. Just don't try and strive for perfection. Get out there, join the conversation. And then if we look down on the messaging regarding sales, you'll see I've highlighted, hey, what's under sales at DocuSign. So I renamed that tab from careers, which is in the general DocuSign thing, to sales or Eng at DocuSign. Why join sales at DocuSign? Here, when you read this, you'll see we're highlighting messaging about We're a leading #1 DTM provider. That's meaningful to sales. We partner with some of the best companies in the world. You have C-suite support. Our CEO, our president of sales, they're very involved when you need them to be. Us, not overly, but they get on the phone and they'll make the calls for you. We have inside sales team support, and you will own your account and the strategy. And then, of course, we talk about comps and President's Club. That's what's interesting to people who are looking at the DocuSign sales opportunities. So that's a story we wanted to lead to. If you were to scroll down farther on both the sales and engineering, you would then see the general DocuSign story about create, collaborate, and impact, you know, why anyone would work at DocuSign in general. But we lead with that stronger, more tailored messaging. And what's powerful about this today is that, as the Glassdoor team mentioned, buyers and candidates are similar in that they're taking the tires and doing the research and forming an opinion about your company before recruiters even speak to them. So Glassdoor is now providing us this opportunity to speak to sales and engineering candidates before we even get the chance to talk to them over the phone. So we hope that expands their consideration set to include DocuSign. So we're pretty excited about this. And you know, this effort of using the platform at Glassdoor is already paying off for us. We're looking at a multiple sourcing channels for candidates, and one of them is our own career site. And the number of resumes we're receiving as a percentage of all resumes sourced across channels that come from our career site now has doubled in the last 6 or 7 months, and we really attribute that to all of this work on Glassdoor. And I'm not just saying that. I asked the head of recruiting, well, where do you think that's coming from? He said it's definitely Glassdoor. It's the whole effort here. So we're really excited about this new tool, and you should use it. Seriously, it's good stuff.
Well, Anne, I have to tell you that you guys, DocuSign has really shown us what best practices, and not only in the execution, because I think you went in and you customized all of these pieces of content, but I will say also in the speed. I think you mentioned that you kind of got in and started changing those things quickly, because I think perfect is the enemy of good, to kind of rephrase what you were mentioning. Could you talk to us about how long this process took for you to go in and update this content?
Well, I had a lot of the foundational content out there. We've been taking a lot of great pictures. I have good relationships with different people who are taking pictures of different events. So to be honest, it took me probably a couple hours to just gather the photos, look, decide, and then I interviewed the head of sales recruiting and the head of engineering recruiter. Those were half-an-hour conversations. Because I knew what our foundational brand was, I took another half an hour, drafted pretty much what you see here, ran it by people. I think from start to finish, it took me a total of 5 hours over 3 days. It was really simple. And then actually when I had the approved content, loading it up there, that took I did it in a half an hour. It was amazing. It was really quick. So just jump in, really, jump in, because you can change things, you can evolve them. That's what I would recommend.
Fantastic. And I have to say thank you again. I imagine people on the line are probably going to have questions for you. We'll take those at the end of this session, but for those of you interested, I will say take a look at DocuSign's page. They're a great place to understand kind of really how to begin flexing all of the functionality of an enhanced profile. So we will actually move out of some of that recap of audience targeting and move into hopefully what most people online have now heard of that in the last week is rolled out. It's called Know Your Worth. And I will let our head of employer brand, Kirsten Davidson, walk us through what Know Your Worth is and talk about it from an employer's perspective.
Awesome. Thank you. I loved hearing the DocuSign stuff because we're going through and updating all of our authenticated profiles right now too. Okay, so pay transparency, I think this is an interesting one. I think it's a trend that we're seeing more and more. I actually think that in the next few years, we're going to see a lot of pay transparency. Even now, we're seeing companies who are opening up their salary totally. And, in Europe, it's no big deal. People talk about their salaries all the time. In the U.S., it's still really taboo, right? And you think of Zillow, and when they first came out, and you could see your neighbors' houses and how much they were worth, and it was, this super crazy, like, oh, what's their house worth? And now, today, it's no big deal, right? But what does that mean for employers today? It's pretty controversial, when you're working in HR and you think about people knowing what other people are making and, just thinking like, oh my God, what a headache this is going to be. So anyway, but when you think about transparency, we see that 2 in 3 employees wish they had a better understanding of their fair market value. No surprise there. I think, you think about this as an employer, but you also think about this as your own self having to negotiate your salaries. 4 in 5 who are already employed feel like they would love to have a better sense of what they're worth. I think when any of us are doing any kind of negotiation for salary, you try to get as informed as you can, but really we're all sort of stabbing in the dark, and you do the best you can for yourself. In the back of your mind, you're always thinking, was that the right thing? Did I ask too high? Did I ask too low? 3 and 4 employees would negotiate their salaries or search for a new job. Now, I think an important point here, in our data, we see that what truly drives employee satisfaction is a connection to the mission and values. That's number 1 in terms of what drives satisfaction. Actually, number 5 is salary and compensation and benefits. I think a lot of companies get hung up and feel like, oh, what does this mean for us? Because we don't pay in the top salary band, and we know that. And salary is kind of part of our larger compensation. So, how do I deal with it when someone comes to me and they're only negotiating and kind of fixating on this base salary number? So we'll talk about that as well in just a moment. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the product itself and the tool. If you're not familiar with it, just go check it out. Just type in Know Your Worth. Takes about 2 minutes. You put in how many years you've spent in your kind of current role, occupation, where you're located, company you work for, and then what pulls up is your market value. And we really, so we have a pretty sophisticated algorithm that takes all the data points that Glassdoor has around salary that people have left, what we know about the market from external data points. We have a ton of data on all the open jobs that are comparable in your location to give a pretty accurate market value. We also show what you could expect in terms of the range in your market. And in just a moment, we're actually going to walk you through that tool so you can see it pretty quickly. And again, transparency is here, right? And so really, what does that mean for you as an employer? How do you think about those conversations? We'll get into this a little bit more, but I really think these are big opportunities for companies to talk about their strategy in terms of their total rewards package. I think that's a big differentiator for a lot of companies. There might be a company that knows that they pay base salary really low, but they have all these other benefits, or they're pre-IPO, so they offer stock. The companies who have a really well-articulated and well-researched strategy here, I think are in a really good position for these kinds of conversations, and it really is a chance to kind of drive this deeper engagement. Okay, but I'm talking over my time here, so I'm going to turn it over to let us just go through a demo, let you check it out yourself, and then share a couple of resources that we've developed to specifically help employers have a good perspective on how to approach this.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Kirsten. Hey, everyone. This is Mike Walsh. I'm a product marketing manager here at Glassdoor. Worked on this product, Know Your Worth, and it was a very exciting, fun product to be working on, to launch, to help physicians to really understand, what it is that job seekers and employees want to know about pay. We also, along with Kirsten here, actually did a lot of customer interviews, employer interviews as well, to get their perspective. So the employer perspective has definitely been built and incorporated into this tool. So I will walk you guys through this, but I, again, encourage you all just to take a look at Know Your Worth. It's we're promoting it all over the place. It's all over Glassdoor.com, so you'll see like different call-outs for it. But eventually you'll get to this landing page called Know Your Worth, and you'll kind of see some of the key value props we have around there, around that it's a personalized number, that it's a private number, it's nothing that we're going to be sharing externally, and it's a comprehensive number. Another point to make that since we've launched this, we have gotten really great, significant coverage across the media. We've been featured in USA Today, Washington Post, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, CNN Money. It's been somewhat of it's been a rock star for us. So we're very excited to see how it's taken off and how it's been viewed in the marketplace. So let me just get right into it. So we're here at the landing page. User would click get your estimate there, and now we're already into the tool. So first things first is we're going to walk the user through a simple 3-step onboarding process to get some information about them so that we can generate that personalized salary estimate. So first off, I have an example here about a user who works at Nest in Mountain View. They're a financial analyst, and they have 5 years of relevant experience. That was some feedback that we got from employers. It's like, hey, you guys really need to explain and define what relevant experience is, because it is a big driver in calculating your estimate. We all know that, in speaking with employers, it's very clear that we need to distinguish between total experience, the years of, since you've graduated from college or high school and been in the workforce, versus the years of experience that you have that are directly applicable and relatable to the job that you're in today.
And I would just jump in there and say that, while the tool today is built using kind of the million points of data that we have, as people put in more data on their relevant experience, et cetera, that helps us make sure that we're sharpening and becoming more and more accurate for different markets based on your years of experience.
Okay, oh, something went wrong. Oh, shoot. Let's see here. Refresh. Okay, step 2 here. All right, great. Now tell us about your pay. So step 2 is all about then asking, well, we need to get some information about your current pay in order to use that to help calculate your market value. So first, again, this is also first step of we're on V1 of this tool. So in V1, we're just looking at your base salary, and we're going to give you a personal estimate of your base salary. We also ask for additional compensation that you can put in here around bonuses, equity, commissions, other types of payment that you may be receiving as part of your job. That's not going to be factored into your estimate for this version of Know Your Worth, but over time, as Kirsten said, as we collect more data points, as we understand more about how these other parts of pay contributes to your overall compensation, we are going to be introducing more sophisticated compensation lookups and analysis to users over time. So again, I've just put in base pay, and then there's also an optional click box here where a user can choose to submit their salary like they would on Glassdoor and other places, where we would then be able to share that anonymously to users in an anonymous fashion. So I'll click on here. And then the last step is about just telling us more about yourself. So we're asking here for information about your education experience, as well as then we ask a couple optional questions around gender and your birth year. And these are optional because, again, these are also data points that we're collecting to understand really how do these different factors impact pay over time. As you all probably are aware of, Glassdoor does a lot of research into pay, and in particular around gender pay gap, and we are trying to use that information to really get a hold of like what is going on and how can we focus and shine a light on that to improve pay quality throughout. So again, these are all elements here that are now going into your estimate. So that's it. That's the onboarding process. 3 steps. Now I'll click done, and it's going to take me to my dashboard. So this is the main output for Know Your Worth. This is our Know Your Worth dashboard. What you can see here is, and I'll go on and explain kind of how the estimate works, what you can see on this page, and then afterwards I'll hand it back to Kirsten to walk us through some of the employer resources that we have, as well as some probably burning questions you have around, how as an employer do I talk about this if an employee presents this kind of information for you. So we've got all that covered. Let me just kind of walk you through what the tool is in the first place. So Know Your Worth, as you can see, it's telling me that my market value is $112,000. This says that it's about $7,000 below, or my current pay is about $7,000 below my market value. Some of the main factors that went into that market value are, the fact that I'm a financial analyst at Nest in Mountain View with 5 years of relevant experience. There's actually a ton more that goes into that calculation. You'll see here that we've also incorporated 1,300 salaries for people with a similar profile and similar position as you into that estimate. And we've also found 823 different jobs that are open today that might fit this user profile. And so some of kind of, where we differentiate ourselves from others in the marketplace is that we're not only taking information about yourself and where you work and what you get paid today, but we're also using really sophisticated machine learning and data science to take that information about yourself, compare it to the open job market that fits your jobs, and also like what are potential jobs and careers you could go into based on your current job. So we also are incorporating your career trajectory into this calculation. So it is forward-looking, it is personalized, and it's going to be different for everybody. So what this chart is now showing is that, hey, here's my current pay at around 105. The typical financial analyst in Mountain View, this is across industries, across years of experience, is making less. They're making about 100. So overall, compared to the average, I'm doing pretty well. And then based on, those factors of what jobs are open in the marketplace, where other jobs I could go into, you can see that my market value, my personalized salary estimate, is actually a little bit higher. And so that's showing me that, I could potentially look to see if there's other opportunities out there, or is there conversations I can have with my manager around my pay. And we give you more information below here, as well as a band and a range to show how your market worth, the range of your market worth. And so you can see that, from in this kind of bar chart here, at $105,000, you're well within the range of what what your market worth is. And we're again kind of just showing you a single number here of what your market estimate is. If you kind of scroll down below, you'll also see other jobs that are available for you. Again, these are, we found that there are 823 jobs open. Here's are some jobs that we found that might be of interest to you. You can see that there's a mix of financial analysts as well as senior financial analyst jobs. And then at the bottom, we also have a Salary Explorer tool, which allows users to search for different salaries for different types of positions and what they pay in the market currently. So this is a little bit different from Know Your Worth in that it's not taking into that personal aspect of the chart above, but it is giving you a detailed search into different salaries. Let me kind of cover one other thing here. So if you have further questions about the tool itself and how things are being calculated, we have that tooltip that I just clicked on, and from here you're going to be able to get to more information into how the market value is calculated, the different factors that we are looking at, how to really understand the chart, and then we also have links to a pretty detailed FAQ and methodology in terms of how the market value is calculated, all of the different data science that went into this. So there's a ton of resources in here, and I'll let Kirsten talk more about what those are.
Yeah, so some of the data, just to call out in that FAQ methodology, are developed directly from the conversations that we had with a lot of employers as we were kind of sharing this and getting their early feedback. And like most employers and kind of putting on my own past experience employer hat, The questions, I imagine, are like, channeling previous CHROs saying, what is this? How is this calculated? What data goes into here? How accurate is this tool? Just to sort of get a level set. So we've really tried to provide that information so that right off the bat, employers and employees know how accurate, where this sits, and how to consider this as a single data point in kind of a larger story of what you're worth. The second thing I wanted to point out is that Salary Explorer piece at the bottom. We actually got a lot of interest in that from employers to say, from all the external salary data we get, the one thing we don't get a lot of is that regional data, and that's much harder, especially for companies who are maybe in the Midwest or kind of smaller, more niche areas, that it's pretty difficult for them to get that real time. And so we got feedback that they started to use that internally as they were going through compensation, just to kind of level set and get one more data input to help them identify and understand kind of from the tools that are out there, what some of that external factors is. So anyway, I think that was pretty interesting learning from our side. Okay, so a few of the employer resources that we developed, and again, these are largely from kind of our own experiences and then talking with employers and getting their feedback about kind of questions they had and challenges that they had as they were kind of wrapping their heads around this. So the Employer's Guide to Know Your Worth is kind of sets up right away some of those key points that I was sharing, like market data, market value, what does that mean, and kind of answering those questions. And then really encouraging employers, and for a lot of people on the phone, this won't be new, but when someone's coming in and saying, with something in their hand, hey, I'm underpaid, how to have that conversation and really leverage that as a larger discussion around driving employee engagement. So helping somebody really understand, okay, what your market value is in this organization, how that fits, how base pay fits into our larger story, and seeing this as an opportunity to kind of further cement your differentiation and what your mission and values is and how you want employees to feel motivated at your organization. Also really interesting, so we posted a blog post that was actually written by our own head of HR who had to deal with this firsthand, right? So we launched the tool, we launched it a little bit early internally and said to all employees, hey, go check this out. And right away, she got kind of a handful of people marching into her office saying, looks like I'm underpaid using our own Glassdoor tool, so what are you going to do about it? And she had her own moment of like, and this is the reality for us as Glassdoor, is that we also are an employer. We also deal with everything that all of our clients deal with. And so she wrote a blog post for what she did and how she had to kind of think about this and what that meant for her. I think it's a really authentic view, and we've really tried, we asked her to just write her opinion about it, not from a perspective of, and here's, someone's perspective on why this is so amazing, but it was someone's perspective on, here are the challenges that I faced and what this meant for me. So I point that out. I really encourage you to read it. And then we also just have a kind of plethora of data. Again, I encourage you to check out the FAQs methodology, have that maybe even printed out as people come in, that you can say, well, here's what I know about it. And we even talk about the level of accuracy that we see in the market. We did a lot of research around that. We've really tried to be open about the fact this is a beta. This is a place to start. We believe deeply in salary transparency. There's a lot of talk around the gender pay gap and pay disparity. I think that opening up salary is a really important place for us all to begin, to even just understand what the market values are so we can negotiate better for ourselves, make sure that we're paying fair salaries and holding ourselves accountable as employers. And a really important place for us to begin these conversations. So a couple tips, just really quick. So, review what they bring you, whether it's from this or somewhere else. This is an important data endpoint, and knowledge is power, right? And employees should be empowered to be able to have these conversations. Take it as an opportunity to explain your current compensation strategy. We had a few employees that we talked to who said, yep, you know what, we're going to have to get better at this. We know we're going to have these conversations coming, and we need to make sure that we are able to have these conversations.
Yeah, and also on the flip side of that too, we had conversations with companies that did pay lower, but they do so they have a strategy around that. You know, some of these companies are private too, so they're looking at an upside further down the road.
As far as the question around geography, it's a great question. It came up often in our beta. And today we're starting with occupation. That is certainly what we've heard the key ask from employers, but we're just getting started. I will say that to the person who asked about geography, you are not alone. So we're in the middle of talking about that within our product team, and we'll likely expand the functionality of the feature.
Perfect. So we've had a number of questions for either, you know, I think Mike, this one would be directed at you. Can you please clarify, is Know Your Worth also available in Canada?
Sure. Yeah, so I saw a couple questions there about where it's available. Unfortunately, Know Your Worth is only available in the US right now. It is a beta, it's our version 1 of this product. We are, you know, our long-term vision is to make this available to all jobs across the world. So that's kind of the grandiose vision of this thing. You know, there are millions of jobs in the US alone that we need to develop these personalized calculations for. So we want to get that right here and then expand outward from there. So unfortunately, I don't have a timetable yet for you on Canada or further expansion, but rest assured that it's definitely in our long-term vision to do that.
We're getting there.
Perfect. The next question looks like both Kirsten and Anne, this one is directed more closely to you two. So the question is, do you have any advice for capturing our company's EVP in different departments? And are there any surveys Glassdoor could provide for employers to send to their employees to help identify this?
So I'll start on the product piece also. So within different organizations, so your overall EVP, right, is what differentiates your company and why people want to work there overall. I think, though, it is also important to be able to articulate within the different organizations. So Anne was talking about how she went to the folks themselves and just asked them. That's a really important place to start. You want it to be authentic, and if you have a clear EVP overall, it'll align, right? And the overall values that you have should be very strong within your culture, but how that shows up in sales is different than how it shows up in engineering. That's okay. It's okay to have slightly different messaging. It's more that you want to make sure that you're saying it in the language and you're identifying the pieces that most resonate. So it's not necessarily totally different. It's just making sure you're speaking to the right audience. And then in terms of tools, so we don't have like a internal survey tool. However, in the analytics, you can look at all the reviews and responses by job title, by location. So you can start there to really identify like what's working, maybe what are areas that need some help. And then you drill down from there. So you can identify maybe sales in Chicago is struggling or is specifically doing a really fantastic job. What's going on there? You can call some of those leaders, reach out to some of those people, check out the reviews that you can filter by that area and see what's going on is, I think, one of the easiest places to start. And I'm sure you maybe have something to add too.
Well, I think I agree with everything you just said, and I think that the digging down into why a salesperson joins your company and why they stay, and digging down into why an engineer, for instance, joins your company and why they stay, they live within your overall employer value proposition. But for instance, a salesperson is going to be interested in President's Club, or do they have full discretion over an account strategy, or will they be tripping over other salespeople? How will they get paid if they sign a big deal? Are they paid a percentage up front? How does that all work? That's something that's not really relevant to an engineer, but is very relevant when a salesperson is deciding where they're going to work. And for engineers, they'll be interested in hackathons. They'll be interested in, do they have exposure to the chief technology officer, or will they just be sort of coding in the dark? Will they see their product or features shipped? You know, there's some people who work at these larger companies and they develop all these things and they never see anything of theirs hit the site live. So those, again, are part of the greater story. They're aligned with the greater employee value proposition. But a salesperson doesn't think about hackathons, right? So it's just pointing out the things that excite that department of that team, and just messaging that and talking about it.
And this is Kieran, and I would add to both what Ann and Kirsten had to say, that it's very much the voice of the embedded employee that understands your culture. Something else we've heard from employers is that your new hire orientations are also a wealth of knowledge. Even to walk in and understand what attracted you to this organization, it can really help kind of understand with fresh eyes, what is it that's standing out to my organization to job seekers, in addition to what Ann and Kirsten mentioned. And so why are the employees that are here, why are they here and why are they staying?
I would say too, I mean, there's a lot of different survey tools you can use, right? But that can be as simple as a Survey Monkey with 3 questions that you just send out at the end of the day to any new hires after orientation that says, why did you choose us? What other companies did you interview at? Anything you might have improved during the process. That easy.
Perfect. So it looks like we are at the top of the hour. So with that being said, we will let you all go for the day. Thank you all for joining us so much on the line, as well as, you know, Ann, Kirsten, Mike, and Kira. Couldn't do it without all of your knowledge. So thank you all again for joining us, and we will catch you all next time.